Come here. Get off. So today we're talking to Philadelphia-based social worker, feminist writer, public speaker, and community activist Feminista Jones. Feminista is an award-winning blogger and the author of Push the Button, which we're reading from today, a poetry collection called The Secret of Sugar Water, and the newly released Reclaiming Our Space: How Black Feminists Are Changing the World from the Tweets to the Streets. Feminista's work centers Black American culture, critical race theory, intersectionality, and women's health and well-being. Hey, Feminista!
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Go on. We're excited to talk to you. I
Awesome.
feel like we've been following you and like sending each other stuff that you've tweeted for years.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
dope.
cool to have you
Yeah,
on.
you were definitely my homegirl in my head. So thank
Well,
you
now I'm
for
homegirl on the mic, so
Yay!
thank you so much.
So first, can you tell us what are your preferred pronouns?
she and her.
Awesome.
And
Thank
yours?
you. I'm she and her. Erica.
I'm she and her, but I also appreciate all around bad bitch. So if that could
Oh,
be somehow incorporated.
Got
I'm gonna
it.
try my best.
Okay. So I just read that long, like yes, bad bitch bio. But what do you in one sentence, what do you think of what you do? Like if you could sum it all up in one succinct sentence,
I
what
do
is it?
bad bitch things now.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes.
um, you know what? Honestly, I think at this point in my life, I just am somebody who is trying to live out her dreams and help people along the way,
Hmm,
if that makes sense.
it does make sense.
I've had a lot of questions lately about, is this what you've always wanted to do? And, for as long as I can remember, yes, I've wanted to be a writer and I've also wanted to help people. And this is like since I was like 6 years old, 7 years
Mm,
old. And I've been lucky enough or, committed enough to be able to do both and be successful at both. So I think where I am right now, having recently turned 40, I am enjoying the fruits of my labor, being able to do both of those things.
word.
Yeah.
That's what's up. So, okay, you're based in Philly now. Where are you
Mhm.
from originally?
I am from New York City, born and raised.
Really?
I was born in Queens. My mom and I we moved around a lot when we were in Queens, but I went to public school there for elementary school, and then we moved to the Bronx. And I really tell people that the Bronx really made me who I am.
Hmm.
Like Queens was kind of an early introduction to things, particularly on the hip hop side because I always
Hmm.
loved like all the Queens artists from hip hop. But the Bronx really made me who I am, and I lived most of my life in the Bronx. So everything from there, every time whether I went away to school or college, every time I came back, it was always living somewhere in the Bronx. So I've spent the majority of my life in the Bronx, and I definitely am a Bronx girl.
Word. Would you ever go back? Like to
No,
live for real?
I don't want to ever say like never, but that is not what I have. That is living in New York City is no longer my ministry
I was
because
just about to
it
say, not
is
your ministry.
no, it is. I had this. People ask me like, why did I leave, and I said I feel like I have given New York all that I can, and I've gotten from New York all I can get from it. And a lot of that is under the context of being a social worker, right? I spent my whole
Mm,
pretty much all my career there being a social worker in New York City, and in a city that big there's like all these different organizations, they're all kind of doing the same work. You're like just kind of drifting around, but in Philadelphia where there are a lot of pressing issues, there's the opportunity to kind of be a big fish in a small pond. And I felt that I could take a lot of what I had learned as a social worker in New York and bring that to Philadelphia and possibly help work on some of the issues going here.
hmm.
hmm
Word. What made you choose Philly in particular?
Well, I went to undergrad here. I went to the University of Pennsylvania for undergraduate. And when I was here, I'd done some volunteering in West and North Philly and learned a lot about the issues. And, I had friends here that were still here. I dated someone here for a few years. So I've always been closely connected with Philadelphia. And so when I was thinking about where I wanted to move, thinking about, proximity to my son who's still in New York City, Philadelphia really topped the list. Cost of living is lower,
Mhm.
fewer people, but it's a black city, right? A lot of people don't talk about
Mhm.
Philadelphia in those terms. We always talk about, Washington, D.C. is chocolate city, but Philly is like 43% black right now, I
Yeah.
think. And we have like the highest black Muslim population. There's so much about this city that is just like quintessentially black. And
Mm.
I love that. Like, it's really hard for me to be in spaces where I'm one of a few or the only
Whew.
one. Like, that really
Listen.
destroys my spirit. It's funny story. I've been on tour for a few months for the book, and I've gone to, and also my speaking tour, and I've gone to some really interesting places. And I remember going to Terre Haute, Indiana to speak at
Mm.
Indiana State.
Wow.
And for the first 24 hours I was there, I didn't see a single other black person.
Nope. Oh.
And I was talking with students and professors there. I was like, how do you do it? And they're
Mhm.
like, look, you got to find your tribe, but it's still really taxing. I was like, I just can't do that. I can't go a whole day and not see black people.
No,
Like,
that's
that's
Yeah.
not the life I want.
And I notice it so much more. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and moved to
Mm-hmm.
DC, and I've been here, since college. And
Mm-hmm.
now and I don't think I was as aware of being in such white spaces until you kind of get home and you breathe and
Mm-hmm.
you're so used to
Mm-hmm.
seeing so many black people that you're so
Yeah.
much more aware of the absence of them when you're not
Mhm.
around
Yeah,
them.
I was just in St. Louis 2 weekends ago for a wedding, and I had been there like a few weeks before that for a speaking engagement. I like St. Louis. I like the people there. They're like the black folks there were like real cool. I really
Yeah, we
appreciated
I
them.
it was a good place to grow up, but
Hmm.
I definitely had to leave, and I love my
Hmm.
family, but I needed a little bit of space.
I understand. I understand. I can see that. Yeah, but people were really nice to me there, and I say that because that doesn't always happen. So I
Yeah.
appreciate St.
Oh,
Louis.
wow. Well,
Wow.
I'm glad they put their best foot forward for you.
Hmm. Hmm.
I wonder how being in a city, living in a place that is very intentionally black, like how much being in that space feeds your work.
It feeds it so much. When I first moved here, I worked for a university doing anti poverty policy work, right? And pretty much 99% of the people I worked with were Black, right? So we
Mhm.
have the highest poverty rate in the country of any large city. And so it's a serious issue here. So Blackness and poverty, are so linked up here. It's kind of ridiculous. Not to say that there isn't a Black middle class or upper class, but it's obviously racialized here in
Mhm.
many ways. So that definitely informs a lot of my work, and particularly with activism and things that I do around the city still, working with women and things like that. That Blackness is always, present. And then, as I'm connecting with different people, and I'm sure we'll talk about more kink stuff, but like I've been able to find a very strong kink community here, with,
Mhm.
that is all Black people, and that's been really really helpful, and like finding those kind of even underground alternative kind of communities has been really great. So it's given me a lot of inspiration to finish the sequel to Push the Button, which I've been working on. So it's kind
Ooh.
Oh,
of
good. We were definitely gonna ask you about that.
no,
Yeah.
it's actually been really dope. I'm like hacking away these. I cut my nails down. I was like, I got some writing to do.
Yeah.
I was like that, but definitely feeding in, from that. I think it's, what it is. It's a comfort level. I think when I was in New York City, I wasn't comfortable anymore.
Mm.
I was struggling, and I was like, I shouldn't be struggling, making as much money as I was making. I shouldn't have been struggling, like living paycheck to paycheck.
It's
I
a
shouldn't,
hard city.
I shouldn't have had all the mental health issues and struggles that I had. Not to say that I haven't had them here, but in New York, it was just a whole different level. And then
Mhm.
having to go outside and be around so many people all the time, it was just
Yes.
so draining. How do you go home and then be creative? and be productive when you're just so drained. So, Philadelphia here, and then, black folks here are nice. So, like, you
Mhm.
walk down the street, sisters will randomly be like, "Oh, girl, I love your skirt. Oh, I love those earrings. Oh, I love that hair," and they'll start a conversation. Like, it's kind of like what people say about the South. You know how that
Mm.
is, but here in Philly, it's like that's just how people are. And when they say, like, brotherly love and sisterly affection, that comes from the black people here. So, I've definitely felt more comfortable. I've settled in. I got a house. Like, I love my home. So, definitely feeling it.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
dope.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So I've been following you. Like I said, you were my homegirl in my mind. So I've heard you talk on other shows about your
Mhm.
dominant submissive relationships. And so
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
question to you is, how did you realize that one of the hats you'd come to wear was that of a submissive? Like, how did that come about? Because I think we all have a bit of that in us, but how did
Mhm.
you realize that this is who I am and what I want to do?
Well, it's a funny story because I no longer identify that way because I divested of the patriarchal bullshit. But anyway, um,
Mhm. Well,
so
Surprise!
surprise. No, there was another show I was talking about that. Listen, I've been in this lifestyle, this kink and BDSM lifestyle for 21 years
Mm.
now, and evolution is going to happen, growth is going to happen, and what I've always identified as a switch, to be
Mm.
quite honest,
mhm.
because I
Can you
play.
tell our
Yes.
listeners who
Oh,
don't know?
sure. A switch is somebody who can function as a submissive type and can also function as a dominant type.
Mhm.
And for me, it fell along gender lines. Like, I would be dominant with women and I would be submissive with men. And I really had to critique that.
Mm.
Like, as a feminist, I could come up theoretically with all the ways in which it was fine to be a submissive, and here's where, I've written about it, right? It's not an
Mhm.
issue, and I don't have an issue with it, trust me. But what I had to do was really challenge myself and say, are you really submissive, or do you just engage certain men this way?
Mm.
Because when I would be
Ooh.
out and about in the community, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't bow my head to any of them other dudes. Like, no, like, I'm not
Mhm.
doing nothing you say. I ain't gonna call you no sir, nothing. Like, I was just like, no. And then, it took a partner being like, you don't have a submissive bone in your body.
Mm.
Like, and we said that it was during an argument. It was like, I was like, well, that's actually true. And I started having to like deconstruct that. And then what I realized, and this is something that I actually I now do workshops and stuff about, is I had to reconcile enjoying being a bottom for like more of the physical things.
Mhm.
Like, I identify as a sadomasochist, so I do enjoy receiving pain, but that didn't make me submissive.
Mm.
And that's
Mm.
challenging a lot of the norms and the standards that we have in our community. Like, we equate a bottom with a submissive, and it's like, no, I actually I just like the way these things feel, and I like having someone else kind of, inflict that on me or what have you. There's certain scenarios where, yeah, I like to be choked. Does that mean I'm a submissive? No, it means I like being choked.
Mm.
I like, if I want a man to pay for things, does that make me a submissive? No, it means I like having men pay for shit. So I had to challenge a lot of what I'd already believed, and I was like, no, you know what? There's part of me that, with a particular partner, I may curl up like a little girl and do whatever, but that is not my standard or my general way of being. I am actually quite dominant. And I would limit it only to women, but then I realized, no, I can be dominant with men too, and not just in the bed. I found that outside of the bed is when I really got the enjoyment of dominating men.
Mm.
And so I allowed myself to evolve over the years and fully embrace the fact that I identify as a Dom who happens to be a sadomasochist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That
so
is
after 21 years, that's where I am right now.
so. Just to dig a little deeper into that piece, can where did
Yeah.
you deal with a? I mean, when you thought for so long, I am this type of person, and then slowly come to realize,
Mhm.
no, that isn't who I am anymore, or who I never was. How
Mhm.
did you? What was your
Mhm.
thinking? What was your thoughts behind it? Did you feel like you were having some sort of crisis, or I don't want to say crisis, but how did you handle that?
Honestly, I think my biggest concern, because I am so well known, because I'm well known in the community and also out, is like, how will people receive this? Like, will they
Mm,
think that I was a fraud? Will they think I was whatever? And that's why I'm very delicate about how I explain this process. And for those who may be newer to this lifestyle or newer to kink, letting people know you have permission to change. Like, you may identify one way now, and then a few months from now, you're like, you know what, that doesn't really work for me. And it's okay. Like, don't
right.
let anybody pigeonhole you. And so for me, I think that was probably the biggest concern, because people look up to me. And
Hmm.
then I wrote this book. But then I realized when I started writing the sequel, I started writing the sequel 3.5 years ago,
Mm,
believe it or not. And I wanted my primary character to be a Dom, a woman Dom. And I said, I'm going to explore this. And I actually think, like, through writing that, I was like, you're writing yourself, right?
mm,
And I'm like, but how am I writing myself? And so it wasn't crisis. It was more like, just let the spirit move you,
mhm.
and
Give
just go
yourself
with
Hmm.
that
what,
space.
yourself
Yeah.
that space, go with what feels good and what feels right. And I had fallen back from the community a bit. I was in a rather tumultuous relationship, and when I ended that, I said, you know what? I need to reconnect with my people, but I'm going to do it in the most authentic way. And
Mm,
so people that had known me in my previous form, they've accepted and they have embraced it, because again, I've always identified as a switch. So there's always been that there. It's just now I fully embrace it, and you'll see more of that with
wow.
me.
Hmm.
That's awesome.
But if you're the right person, you're the right person, and you might bring that other part out a little bit. You never know. Like, I'm
Hmm.
just open to whatever feels good. We fucking right? Is it good? Like,
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that actually makes me think more broadly just about your career in general. Like,
Hmm.
from addressing street harassment to writing
Hmm.
erotica to speaking at
Hmm.
colleges and advocating women's health. I
Hmm.
feel like you do a really good job of being your whole self in
Hmm.
public and reflecting all of those pieces of yourself in your work.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what the biggest challenge is that you face in making space for all the things that you are and all the things that you do.
Honestly, I think the biggest challenge has been the sex part,
Mm,
because that's how I came on the scene, right? That's what people knew
mhm.
me from my early, early days back 2010, 2011. And I really was like trying to make this mark as a sex positive Black feminist, and I did.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people came to know me for. And then I was like, but I do have all these other things that are really important to me too. And since now I have this platform, let me start talking about these things too. And I started bringing more of my daily life as a social worker, as an activist online. I was like, well, I also do this stuff too, people. And realizing that, social media specifically could be a valuable tool to help me in my day-to-day life.
Mm,
So I was like, I gotta bring all of this. And I fell back a bit from the sex stuff as much, because I was having my own personal kind of revolution,
yeah.
like, there's a lot of things, not a lot, but there are some things that I wrote or said about 6, 7 years ago that I wouldn't agree with right now when it comes to like feminism and sex and things like that. I talk about in the book a bit how I was reclaiming our space, how I felt like it was my job to get more men to approve of feminism or to support it,
Mm,
and I felt like
Mm.
sex would be the way to reach them. And it was very effective. I'm telling you, to this day, I have just as many male fans and supporters as I have women.
wow.
And in many things, the men support more than women. So it worked. But then I was like, why am I doing that? Why do I care about their feelings like that? Like, either you down with feminism, either you believe that we are equal, or you don't. I shouldn't have to sugarcoat things. I shouldn't have to spoon feed it to you. I shouldn't have to make it appealing. And so part of why I fell back from the sex stuff was because I was like, I don't want that to be the only reason you believe that women are valuable.
Right.
I didn't fall back completely. It was just kind of like, but the more public I became, things like that, I was just kind of like, this is risky. It is risky. because now I'm out and about. And sometimes when you talk about sex, people feel entitled to you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So that
Mhm.
was a big thing. And anybody listening, I feel like I've never explained this before, so you guys are the first to hear this. But I started becoming concerned about my own safety because if I would look at my DMs, if I would look at the emails, I would all the unsolicited dick pics, all the
Shit.
things, I was just like, this is not what I want for me. And here I am posting where I'm going to be in these different spaces. The last thing I need is somebody who is infatuated with me or has been fantasizing about me to show up and we have a problem.
Mm.
So that's another reason and one of the major reasons why I fell back from that. But then in the last like couple of years, I was like, yeah, man, I'll shoot you. Like I'm like I'm going to do me. I'm going to do me and I this is important to me. And when we think about things like what's happening with abortion right now, all of that is related
Mhm.
to sex and sexuality. And so I feel like especially because I retired from social work
Mhm.
last year, I said, you know what? This is the arena I need to get back into. I need to get back into talking about sex and sex positivity. I need to get back into talking about kink and BDSM. I need to get back to talking about how, sexual liberation because it is so relevant to what is going on right now in our country and across the world. And I feel like I have a strong enough voice for that. So I've been doing more of that lately, and it's been good. It's been feeling good. So, I think it all connects. When you are a queer Black feminist woman, it's hard to divest of any
Mhm.
part of who you
Mhm.
are.
Right.
Mhm.
Now that's one of the things
Like,
we talk about on this
yeah,
show. Like it's not it's never just sex, right? Everything is
Mhm.
sex and race and like all of these things are
Yes,
interconnected and you
yes.
can't leave any of them behind because they literally are you.
It's sex and race, sex and gender, sex and class,
Mhm.
sex and orientation, like everything, sex and religion, like all of it is so intertwined. We can't divest. And here's the thing: if we're talking about liberation for like as a theory or a practice, we have to talk about bodily
That's right.
liberation. Like
Mhm.
if your bodies are still in these kinds of theoretical chains, one of the biggest ones being related to sex, we're not getting any other type of liberation.
Mhm.
You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So I feel like I have a strong enough voice in this particular space, especially with like SESTA and FOSTA stuff happening. Like, nah, man. I think that renewed my vigor too. Like when they started cracking down, and like you can't put nipples on Instagram, and everything got to be family friendly, and all this stuff like that. You can't, the porn and sex workers are getting locked up and trouble and all kind of stuff. I was like, nah, we gotta do something about this.
Gotta come back out. So you
We gotta come back out.
so you talked about how your sexual self evolved over the past 20
Hmm.
plus years. Um,
Hmm.
as a
Hmm.
mom and mentor, what do you think is the
Hmm.
most important thing you want to instill in young Black people that are still trying to figure out their
Hmm.
sexual selves and what that looks like?
It's funny because like I feel the real work starts with their parents, and I feel like we need to really get to young people as young as 5 years old, maybe even 4, to really kind of educate them about sex and sexuality. My ex-husband is an adolescent health educator, and he, developed age appropriate stuff. They were talking to kindergartners about this kind of stuff, and it was working and it was making sense. Um, we have to get in early because a lot of times parents will pass on their own, misguided
Mhm.
notions about things.
Yeah.
And then we've got a whole nother generation that's messed up. But I want young people to know that freedom, like personal freedom, is about being able to enthusiastically say yes and having your no be respected.
Mm.
And I think that that's a fundamental lesson that, as a parent, I have worked on with my son. Let me tell you something. I tell parents, because I do some parenting writing too. I've told parents, listen, when your child comes and asks you for a cookie and you say no, and is like, please, 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 and you're like, no. And then they're like, oh, I hate you. And they start screaming. And then you give them the cookie. You just taught them about coercion.
Sure did.
Mhm.
You just taught them that all they have to do is push a little harder and they'll get what they want.
Mhm.
And that's like a lot of parents are just like, wow, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that's where it starts. You don't even have to talk about sex. You just have to talk about boundaries, autonomy, and respect for other people. Young people have to know that they can explore things and feel free to, while at the same time understanding that it's important to talk to an adult who can give you context. That was an issue with my kid when he first discovered porn, right? He was like 7. I was just like, well, I was like, so this is a no, but here's why. Here's why. It's
Yeah.
like, mommy does not think that this is appropriate for you to look at right now. Not that
Not this is
porn is bad.
dirty, not that you're bad for
No,
watching. Yeah.
I just don't think that this is appropriate for you to watch right now. Then it happened again a few years later, and I was a little more stern. I said, we talked about this. I do not want you watching this and getting your ideas about sex from this. If you want to talk about sex, talk to me and daddy. We'll give you some more information. And I think he understood that. I mean, he's 12 now. Like, I got my first vibrator when I was 14. Look, I'm not going to hold my kid to some ridiculous standard, but we've raised him to know that if he has any questions, he can come to us. We've also raised him very open. I've never once been like, is there a girl you like? I've always asked, is there someone you like?
Mhm.
Do you have a crush on anyone? And so, like a couple of weeks ago, we were walking and he said, Mom, I just got to tell you something. I was like, what? He was like, I think I know that I'm straight. I was like, damn. I was like, well, what does that mean to you? He's like, I like girls. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. But he's like, not that being gay is bad. He's like, I don't like
Right.
boys. And it was a conversation. I didn't have to pry or anything.
Mhm.
And then he tells me that he likes this Puerto Rican girl and a white girl. And then I was like, okay, listen, we gotta
Let's have a
stop.
conversation.
Let's have the conversation right here. I wasn't mad about anything else. I was like, what? But you know what it is? All his like closest friends are black girls.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
okay.
So, and the way he explains it is, he's like, I don't know what's going on with these guys. He said, but girls are just smarter, and I prefer to have them as friends.
Where's the lie?
So I was like, I feel you, bro. Like I get it. So I think that's something for him. I don't know if the girls that he likes being not black kind of helps him juxtapose things. I don't know, but he does have love for black girls and always has.
Mm.
So I'm not like mad or anything. So yeah, we talk about it. I talk about it. We talk about it all the time. I bring it up. I let him know you can talk to me about anything. His sister. I had talked about this publicly. His older sister had a baby as a teenager, and she was only 14, and she's 16 now. And so talking to him about that, like, what does that mean? Like,
Right.
your sister was having sex, and she got pregnant, and she had a baby very young. He's like, I ain't doing that. I was like,
Right. Well,
okay. All right, bro. So but it's important to have those conversations.
Yeah, and to have them early. Awesome.
Have them early.
So let's talk a bit about push the button.
Yeah, let's talk.
So we were definitely in from the opening line. I want to see you.
Yeah.
I'm wondering where I mean, so obviously, we talked a bit about how the idea of it, the
hmm
dom sub relationship,
hmm
at the core of it, came from where you
hmm
were at at that
hmm
part of your life. But
hmm
where did the inspiration for this particular story come from?
So the book is almost 5 years old, and I am blessed to say I get my little Amazon royalties every month. People are
Yes.
still buying it. I'm very happy about that. It came out around the time that 50 Shades of Grey had come out, and that garbage really
garbage.
infuriated
It
me.
was
It infuriated
so
me. It was
awful.
terrible. It was poorly written. It was not about BDSM. It was about abuse,
Mm,
and in the community, we were all just like, what the fuck is this? Like, and I think for me, I have this theory, and a lot of people may not agree, but I feel like if you're a good writer, you can write anything. And I said to myself, you know what? I can do better than
mm,
this, and I can represent for our community, and I can represent for black people in our community, because so much of BDSM erotica is just so white. So I said, I'll write a short story. You know, my Aries brain, I can go for a short story. Anything beyond that is pushing it. It really is.
Yes,
It's
Aries.
pushing
Yes,
it.
I'm a
I'd
fellow
be like,
Aries.
hey, yes, no, I'd be like, all right, man, you got 2,000 words. There you go. But I wrote a blog, and that was supposed to be it. So chapter one was supposed to be
Mm,
it, and then people were reading it, and I got the biggest question I got was, so what happens
mm,
next?
Hmm.
I was like, there is no next. I was like, that's it. What are you talking about? There's no. I just wanted to prove that a story about BDSM with black people could be written better than that 50 Shades crap. But popular demand, the fans were clamoring, and so I started releasing a new chapter like every holiday. So it got to the
ah.
point where people would hit me up. They'd be like, "Yo, July 4th is 2 weeks. We getting another chapter? Hey, it's Easter. Are we getting a chapter? Because Easter's coming up. It's like it's
Because
National
that's
Hot
when
Dog
you
Day. Is
need.
there,
That's
is
exactly when you
there a
need a new
chapter coming
chapter.
out? You know, Asian Pacific Month. What are we getting here? It was really funny. But I would, and it held me accountable. I got to thank the fans because, Aries in and out. We were over stuff really quick. But the fans held me accountable, and I just kept writing and developing these characters and developing this story until I got to all but the last chapter. And by then, my following had like almost
Mm,
tripled. And I took it off the blog. I said, I'm gonna make this a
Right?
book. I waited. I will. Why not, right? And I waited a year
mm-hmm,
intentionally
to build up that.
because to build
Yeah.
it up, and then by then, more than half of my followers had never heard of Push the
Mm,
Button. They'd never seen it. They went to my blog, it wasn't there. They'd never heard of it. So when I added the final chapter and released it as a book, the old fans were just like, "Yes, this is it. We love it. Oh my god, I can't believe you did this. What is going on?" It was really great to see because what was happening was with every chapter I started having people download this so I could track it,
mm.
and like I was there. I would have like 2,800, 3,000 downloads in the first day
Wow.
of dropping it. So I knew there was a fan base there, and I was like, okay, this is going to do numbers. So when I created originally, it was going to be just an ebook, but I said no. I made a paperback, and the version that's out now that people can buy is actually the fourth version. I had to do a lot of editing, and so I'd never done anything like this before. I'd never self-published and everything
It's a
like that.
process.
So thank you. So I went back and I did a lot of editing. I actually changed some sentences and you fixed the syntax, a lot of spelling and grammar things and stuff like that. But I cleaned it up. And so what you have now is the fourth version, and people just loved it. I was being asked to come places to talk about it, to speak about it, and that really helped launch my speaking career. First, I was just kind of in like kink spaces, but I was recording myself and putting it on YouTube or like online, and more people were like, "Oh, can you come talk about
Mm,
this? Can you come talk about?" And it grew from there. The best thing was I was at Weekend Reunion, and for people that don't know what Weekend Reunion is, it was an annual gathering of like people of color in the lifestyle, and they asked me to come and sell the book there. And I had an elder in the community come up, and she was just like, "Thank you so much for this. I've never seen us represented this way. Really appreciate it." And that meant a lot to me because, as they say, representation
yeah.
matters, right? You want to see yourself in media, whether it's literature, film, TV. And so I felt like I'd done something special for the community. And it went from there. And this book has sold thousands and thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
copies around the world. And it's been a blessing and it's great. And I love it. And I'm halfway through the sequel.
So,
Word.
do you have any tips or resources for our listeners that want to explore kink? I think that often
Yeah.
we tend, if you're not familiar, you tend to think, you know, that kink is that white people shit, but somebody
Mhm.
choke you out during sex, and you're like, "Can I have some more, please?"
Oh.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, it is that's the thing that I guess gets me all the time because people of color, we are very much obviously involved in this. We have huge communities across the world, especially in the United States. We have gatherings, we have all kinds of conferences. I'm actually speaking at a conference called the Journey Con this August in Atlanta. We are there, but I think there's also that part of us that likes being underground a bit,
Hmm.
and likes kind of being in the margins because it still feels freer. Like the more mainstream something becomes, the more prying eyes you have and peering eyes. And so when the 50 Shades thing came, all the white mommy bloggers were just like, "Oh my god, I want to be spanked," and I was like, "You don't want me to spank you, child." I will send you right back to Mayberry and you'll never think about this again. So there was an explosion for our community around that, that has trickled off a bit. I would say folks could go to fetlife.com, FETLIFE.com. FetLife is like Facebook for Kinksters. You can create a profile, you can talk about what you're looking for, tell a little bit about yourself, what you're into. But there's also an events page, so you can find events that are happening near you, everything from workshops to demonstrations to munches, what we call munches. And a munch is when you get together with other people in the lifestyle but you're not doing anything kinky. You're just having dinner or lunch or drinks or something just to get to know
Hmm.
people. You can go to conferences, you can go to play parties. They list parties at the dungeons. For people that don't know what a dungeon is, it's where you go and there's all kind of apparatuses around and people are engaging in their kink. There's there you can so FetLife I think is a really valuable resource. It can be mess because there's always going to be some white dude who's going to come and be like, "I just want you to sit on my face. I worship the black African
My
queen."
face is all screwed up right now.
Yeah, no, it should be because it's gross. And I'd be like, not saying that it's not that having a white man, but whatever. It's just a lot
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's not your
Or you get
thing.
right. You get brothers whose default picture is a picture of their dick, and it's like I don't need that.
Because
But
dicks
there's a
are
lot of
abundant and low in value,
they are
bruh.
so abundant and short. So they they have they have an events page, but then you also have groups. So you can check out the groups. There's a lot of message boards. Really, just kind of learning. The other thing I would recommend for people is to go to workshops.
Hmm.
I know in Philadelphia, for example, we have a number of groups and parts of the community where there's always a rope demo going on. There's always a flogging demo. There's always some kind of conversation about what it means to be a person of color in kink. There's always something going on that's either free or low charge that you could just go and you don't have to participate. You could just sit in the back and listen, because I think that the education is really so important, learning from people that have been doing that.
Hmm.
And I would say going to munches, like I said, meeting people that are near you. You're a mess, but meeting people that are near
No,
you,
she keeps
it's so
laughing because
it's
so she calls my daughter, who is her
uh-huh,
goddaughter,
uh-huh.
Munch,
Oh gosh, that's
and she's
awkward.
also a child. So every time you
Yeah,
say it, she over there
that's
giggling
awkward.
because it makes her think of
Yeah.
the
but,
baby.
but the
Oh my
funny
gosh,
thing
I'm
is, I
sorry.
am Auntie Munch. So like, I call her
Yeah.
because she
Uh,
was a Munchy baby. So I called her Munch, and I am
yeah.
Auntie Munch. And I'm like, now I feel like that title is so fitting for me. Um, However, I need to reevaluate it for her. But yeah, I am drunk Auntie Munch. Okay.
It's true.
That's kind of funny. But yes, those are
Hmm.
things. That's what we call them. And I think also there are people that maintain, but Facebook has a ton of kink groups. I'm in a couple of them in which people are discussing things all the time. It's one of those things like if you want to know, you need to
Yeah.
go seek it out.
Hmm.
You need to be proactive about it. And then some people are not big on being involved in community stuff, and that's fine too. We are in the information age. You can go to Google anything that you want to learn about related to kink. Maybe you and your partner want to just kind of sit down, watch some videos. There's rope tying demos on YouTube. Like you can find stuff on YouTube. You can find blogs and read and experiment
Cool.
yourselves.
Okay.
So we are wrapping up, but I do have one
Mhm.
question, one silly question for you. So I want to ask you a would you rather
Mhm.
question. So,
Okay.
would you rather be a sub to someone with no short term memory, or to someone who can, or a sub to someone who can only speak in whispers? Have you watched?
So no short term
Have you,
memory, no short term memory
can only
for
whisper. So kind of like
whispers.
awkward black girl, the guy in the office that can only whisper.
Oh my god. Um.
Get over here, bitch.
Put your
Oh
hands back
wow.
up.
You know what? Here, so
Or he
so
forgets everything.
so I might if I could get them a portable microphone or like a bullhorn or something.
No,
Like, hey,
it'll
bitch!
just come out like
Like,
a really loud whisper, like, "Hey, damn, bitch."
you know what? I think actually I'd probably choose the no short term memory
Really?
because no short term memory means they have long term memory. So if they don't remember it Monday at 4:55, they'll remember it Tuesday.
But if
So
you,
I'll be all right.
if
You know
he's,
what?
if she or he
I just,
says,
I just
"Go sit down, go get on your knees in front of the couch," and then goes use the bathroom and comes back,
mhm.
he's like, "But why you on your knees?"
I'd be like, I don't know.
I was looking for something on the floor.
That's where I think it was. That's the first thing I thought of. It was like, well, I wouldn't have to do shit. Like, I wouldn't have to. I wouldn't have to do much of anything. But then, if I was truly, being a submissive type and really kind of connected with that, I would say, well, you told me to be on the floor, and so here I am. And so we just kind of,
Pick
it
up.
would just have to. I feel like I would cry a lot throughout the day. Like, you told me to.
Lots of
That's
eye
what it would
rolling.
be. It'd be like, no, because like, could you imagine being like in bed, right? And they getting out the paddle and the flogger and stuff, and they put it on the bed, and then they go to the
What's this for?
bathroom, and they come back, and they be like, "Why are you laying there with all this stuff on the
Oh
bed?
God.
Well, you said you were going to use it." And then they go and they use the paddle, and they step away, and they come back and use the paddle again, and be like, "You just used that." You're like, "Ow, man!" You just, oh my god. I would choose that though. That'd be fun. I don't think I could deal with the
I
whisper
wouldn't
because
respect.
eventually,
I,
and it would probably, it would take me, I would respect you, but it would take me about 20 minutes to be like, can you just shut the fuck up? That would be it. Don't make me laugh. I just started going back to the gym. My abs hurt.
yes, abs.
I done got so fat. Listen, but I started back at the gym now, so when I laugh, now that shit hurt.
This is a good hurt.
It's just letting you know that the work is working. You putting in.
But you know what? I'm gonna put this in this group. I'm gonna put that same question in this group that I'm in because I want to see that answer.
Okay, you gotta tell us what they say.
I will. I will. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna be like, so I was recording a podcast about kink, and they asked me. That's
Okay.
hilarious. All right.
This is awesome.
I'm sorry.
So,
We're so glad that you were here. See, I didn't even know we was gonna laugh so much. This is dope.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, your newest book is Reclaiming Our Space: How Black Feminists
hmm
Are Changing the World from the Tweets to the Streets. Where can people
hmm
find that book and you and all the rest of your work?
So the book is everywhere. You can go to bookstore, library, online, anywhere. It's in a bunch of countries. People haven't had much issue getting it. A lot of times they've gone into stores and it's been sold out.
yes.
So you can
Wow.
always request it. Just request it and they'll order it for you. I think it's. I would actually tell people to order it at a library because libraries are the
Hmm.
biggest book buyers. So if you go and request it, one woman told me there was like a 30-person wait at her library for the book.
Because
So
we
I was
probably
like,
had
they need
like
to
two
get it. It's like
copies.
I'm like, you should probably order more copies. So you can do that. I am on Twitter at Feminista Jones. Facebook is Feminista Jones Official. I'm on Instagram at Feminista Jones, and my website is feministajones.com. And if you want to know what's going on with me, you can go to my events page, feministajones.com/events, and you'll be able to see what's coming up. Yeah.
Awesome. Yay. Well, thank you so much for joining us before you go on your break.
Thank you. I appreciate you all having me. I always do. I love doing this stuff. It's fun.
This episode was produced by us, Erica and Kenria, and edited by Ballistic. The theme song is from Brazy. Every 5-star review posted on Apple Podcasts between now and July 31st, 2019 will be entered into a raffle to win a copy of one of the books we read on the show. We're giving away 5 books. Just post your review and email a screenshot to theturnonpodcast@gmail.com to enter. And please subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter at The Turn On Pod and Instagram at The Turn On Podcast. And find links to books, transcripts, guest info, and other fun stuff at theturnonpodcast.com. Holla!